know I'm about to go in. Told me that I couldn't do it, but I gotta bring it back, so they're really numb with it. Let's go. Tell me where you're from, where you stay. Know I keep it lit from the coast to the bay. Peace on the right.
If you guys are sick of wasting money on packs, go check out my sponsor. They offer the cheapest and most reliable way to buy coins straight from the source. Use code MAZE at checkout for 15% off your entire order. The user in Madden 21 is terrible. A good user is key to good defense in Madden, and every year EA for some reason dumbs down the user more and more. And this year they've done it again. If you guys are new to Madden, you might not have noticed as much, but the users are extremely slow. There's very little change in direction. Linebackers don't play the ball for shit. And so it can make it very difficult to play defense, especially if you rely heavily on your user. So in today's video, we're gonna be going over 5 tips that you can use to improve your user and hopefully bring defense back to Madden. Now, before we do that, as always, we're gonna go over the best and the worst comments of the day. The best comment of the day comes from Oswaldo Villafuerte, who said, "I hadn't seen that luscious red hair in a while and was really starting to miss it. Thank goodness the king is back." Well, it's good to be back, Oswaldo. I'm glad to have you. And the worst comment of the day comes from Kyler Hardy, who said, "I clicked on the video to unsubscribe." Well, you officially hurt my feelings, Kyler. Getting into the actual video, it's going to be all about the user. So if you're a player who likes to user the D-line and you're maybe not as comfortable using a linebacker or a safety in coverage, I highly recommend you doing it and just trying to get as comfortable as you can. If you're on the D-line, then that means every single person in coverage is just a computer, and that makes it extremely easy on your opponent because the computer is very predictable. Having a user in coverage, especially over the middle of the field, adds a level of unpredictability to your defense, and frankly, that's when most of your turnovers are going to happen. Anybody who's good at usering can tell you that a majority of their picks will probably come from their user. You know, maybe they bait their opponent to thinking something's open and wheeling back. Regardless, whatever reason it is, I really recommend, if you want to get better at Madden, usering is probably the number one thing to do on defense. Now, with that being said, and knowing how important a user defender is to your defense, it's really important to maximize the effectiveness of your user and get everything you can out of it. So today, I'm going to give you guys 5 tips to improve your user in Madden. The first one is going to start before you even get on the field. As you guys can see, I'm in the Madden Ultimate Team menu, and a lot of people don't know this, but if you go all the way over to your settings, there are actually going to be a lot of options within the game settings that are going to determine how your user plays. So if you go down to gameplay helpers, these are the ones that affect your user directly. So in order to basically have all the advantages you can, I play with auto flip off. That's not really related to your user, but these 3 right here: defensive ball hawk, defensive heat seeker assist, and defensive switch assist. These are all 3 that affect your user. Defensive ball hawk is user controlled defenders will auto move into position to play a catch when executing the catch mechanic. Basically, that means when the ball is in the air and it's in the vicinity of your user, when you press triangle, if you have this on, it's going to automatically move you into position to make the catch. So go in your settings, make sure that one's on. Defensive heat seeker assist is another one. This is when user controlled defenders are steered towards the ball carrier when attempting to run or dive into them. So basically, when you're making tackles and there's a player running by you, it's going to give you a little bit of a boost in that direction to help you make the tackle. Again, you're going to want that one on. These 2 are really going to help your user make more plays. And then defensive switch assist. This is when a user switches players with another defender. User movement will be assisted to prevent them from taking their new player out of the play. I play with this off because I feel like I have enough control over my user where I don't really need the switch assist on. But if you are somebody who constantly, you know, when you switch players to make a tackle or something, and you're always switching to the wrong guy and it's veering you out of the play and stuff, this is a good one to have on if again, maybe you're a newer player and you're having trouble with switching players in the middle of a play. So overall, before you even step on the field, these are 3 little settings that you can play with how you want. I recommend these 2 always being on, and then this third one is more up to your own preference. But definitely go into your settings and make sure these are set the way you want before you even get into a game, because that's definitely going to help your user out a lot. Now, the second tip is going to be choosing the right player to user. Like I said, EA specifically has nerfed usering linebackers. So if you're in a set like 3-4 or a heavier set with linebackers in, and you're trying to user those linebackers, they're not going to play well against the pass, especially if you're trying to user them. They're going to feel slow, sluggish. So what a lot of people are doing this year is they're playing in nickel, dime, and dollar sets, and then they're using either a cornerback or a safety. Now, the reason for this is if we look at our stats, I'm going to take a look at Ronnie Lott. This is a guy who'd probably be a decent user. Definitely not the best, but a solid one. He's got 85 speed, which is pretty good for this time of the year. 87 excel. Those are two obviously very important stats. Height is 6 feet tall. That's pretty solid. And the biggest thing I want to look at here is the change of direction. 86 change of direction here for Ronnie Lott. I know it's listed as an offensive stat, but this is going to play a major role when it comes to running with routes and basically cutting on demand. Now, the threshold for elite change of direction, that's that COD stat right there, is going to be 90 overall. So if you can find a player with 90 plus COD, change of direction, that player is going to be an exponentially better user. So that is a very important stat you want to look at when choosing a user. And if you are going to use a linebacker, you got to make sure it's somebody with high speed and high change of direction respectively. So as we saw, Ronnie Lott's change of direction was an 86. We look at a middle linebacker here, Bernardrick McKinney, 76 speed, much slower. He is 6'4", which is good. But if you look at his change of direction, it's only a 65. So if you're trying to user this guy, you're going to look like a snail out there trying to run between routes. And that is a big reason why using the middle linebacker is not as good as it once was. So keep this in mind when you're choosing a user player. Really look for that change of direction stat, and it's going to help you out a lot. Tip number 3 is going to be to always put your user in a QB spy. Now, that might not sound very important, but I actually heard a pro player say it in their stream that they've been feeling like a user in a QB spy runs faster and changes direction faster than when they're left in their zone. Now, I don't know if there's any validity behind this or if it's just placebo, but I have also noticed that I feel like my player runs a little bit more smoothly on the field during the play when he's in a QB spy. So you just want to make sure your user's in a QB spy, and then hopefully when you're running around on the field and usering, you're going to notice a little bit of a faster movement, and hopefully that helps out a little bit. So tip number 3 is going to be to always adjust your user into a QB spy before the play. Now, because tip number 3 with the QB spy thing was like, it's kind of iffy on whether or not that actually is going to do anything. Bonus tip. The bonus tip is going to be essentially how to move your user player to change direction the fastest. And that's going to come from a rolling motion with your left stick rather than making a hard cut. So if we hike the play here, let's say I'm down here. You see I'm going to roll back to this in route. It's almost like you're running like a mini circle as opposed to making a hard point change in direction. So again, if we look at this user right here, you see I'm down low. And then instead of just running directly back, you see I'm going to kind of roll into it. And that's going to help you carry your momentum. If you played real football or any sports, you know that sometimes it is better to do a speed turn like that rather than just plant your foot and change direction. And usually in Madden, that's going to be the case. Obviously, every now and then you are going to change direction. You can't do this every time. But speed turns like this, where you carry your momentum, are great ways for your player to carry the speed and make sure you're covering the most ground possible with your user. The alternative is for your player to plant his foot, stop completely, and then re-accelerate again, as opposed to continuing the speed into the turn. And so that's just a simple way you can keep the speed with your user and cover much more ground. Tip number 4 is going to be to always know your assignment. And this is going to matter more if you're running zone coverage rather than man. But let's say you're running a cover 3 and I'm using the deep third here, Sorensen. Now, if there's nobody going deep, sure, I can run down here and user wherever I want. But if there is somebody who is running deep on the field, you got to make sure you cover deep, or else you're going to get beat for a one-play touchdown. For example, if we run that exact same situation, I'm using the deep third again, and the ball's hiked, and I come down here and user the drag at the line of scrimmage, you're going to see triangle is wide open in the middle of the field. So just make sure you know your assignment. If you're running man coverage, make sure you stay with your man, because again, if you get too aggressive, you try to bait him and switch routes, you're potentially going to leave another receiver wide open. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Know your assignment and play that first before getting too cute. Tip number 5 is going to be especially important this year since users change direction much slower and it's a lot harder to cover multiple routes. And that tip is going to be to make sure you are fully taking away the route you're using. Now we'll use an example of what not to do with this play right here. You see we got a drag coming from the right side of the field and then 2 ins coming from the left. I'm going to be using Thornhill right now. And again, this is going to be an example of what not to do. I'm just going to user showing the bad movement and then we'll look in the replay and I'll describe what I'm talking about. So basically the goal here in my head was I'm going to come down, I'm going to user the drag, and then I'm going to bait him and come back and get the in. But you see right here, I'm not even taking away the drag. So I never took away the drag. He could throw that drag and he would complete his pass. I didn't take away the drag. And then I peeled back. I left the in from 13 Renfro behind me. And and I peeled back, and I didn't even cover the in fully. He could have thrown that also. So because I was trying to bait, I didn't even take away any route on the play. I got too cute. I tried to bait him on the drag. Again, he could have thrown the drag, and then I was too late to get to the in. So again, by trying to cover 2 routes and get too cute with it, I never even took away a single route. So this year, it's extremely difficult to peel back like that and cover multiple routes because your player is so slow. So when you do decide the route you're going to cover, make sure you are fully taking that route away. If your opponent throws that route, it better be an interception. Get underneath it. You know, just commit to one route rather than trying to get too cute and cover the entire field. So there you have it, guys. Those are the tips to improve your user in Madden 21. I know right now defense is a little rough. I'm thinking about posting a defensive tip video on kind of the meta defense right now, and a defense that's really simple, but also probably the most effective in the game. So if you guys do want a tip video like that, just a simple defense for you guys to get started in the year, leave a like on this video. Let me know in the comments, and I will get that up for you. But leave a like if you did enjoy the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll be seeing you guys in the next one.
Now I'm on the